And sticking with markets now more broadly, JP Morgan says we can table recession fears for now. A report from the bank says the Fed's change in tone means investors should reconsider the timing of the investment cycle. This is so fascinating to me because it is such a rapid change in sentiment from December. Jim, is the backdrop really that different? Is the Fed's change in tone really that profound that it changes the cycle?
For now, you had a real tightening of financial conditions in December, which, if it had continued, could have caused a recession because it could have affected consumer psychology and business psychology. The Fed really has a much more favorable position relative to the financial markets. Of course, the risk in that is if the growth turns out to be stronger than expected and the Fed then starts changing their tune again towards raising rates, that's something I think the market would be a little bit afraid of. But also just, we still have Washington to worry about. We have the China negotiations and we have the budget negotiations. And I'm actually more afraid that Washington may muck it up than I am about the Fed, because the Fed seems to be acting responsibly.
Can the United States, though, be the only outlier? We have Germany already in contraction, and you have China seriously slowing down.
It's not going to last forever. I mean, we're not an island. And, you know, I think that those issues that we're seeing in China and the United States will come back to haunt us, and we can't be alone like that. And, I've said to you guys that I don't really understand why what Jay Powell did is seen as so positive. You know, backing off and saying, well, I'm not going to tighten anymore. Why is that a positive thing, and why are the markets responding positively to that? To me, that's negative. It means that we are weaker. Maybe, and I think Jim's right that, things really looked bad, or not bad, but there were warning signs were stronger, I should say, a month ago. And maybe they're not quite as strong. But to me, A, it's negative, and B, there's equivocation there, to your point also, that there's uncertainty in terms of what he's trying to project out there, which is also not so positive to me.
And there is a school of thought that says, what does Powell know that we don't?
Right.
That he's acting this way. That's the bearish school of thought.
You said D.C. could muck it up. How? Be specific. What are you most worried about?
Well,
let him count the ways.
I'm worried. I'm worried about these budget negotiations. That Trump was out over the weekend pretty strongly saying that he's willing to shut it down again. Now that may be just Trump negotiating position. Congress doesn't want it to happen, and that they're going to do everything they can. But he's a hard guy to judge. And I think if for some reason we shut down again, he does have the out of. We can talk about it later. Funding, he does have the out of the emergency funding, but a lot of the Republican senators are saying don't do that because it could set a bad precedent. So that's how Washington can buck it up. And then there's the trade deal. The assumption is that both sides want to get a deal done and that they're going to shake hands and declare victory and everybody's going to love each other again, but that could spin out of control on the downside. And then, of course, there are, the ongoing investigations. Right.